Hello, and welcome to this extra special episode of the Stress Knits podcast. My name is Stacy, and I'm coming to you from a sunny, getting ready to storm, southeastern Michigan. This is a special video brought to you by my patrons over on Patreon. They support my creative endeavors and extra content that is exclusive to them for a time before it goes on YouTube. So thank you so much to all of you who support me there, and if you're interested in doing so, there is a link below and you will get this content first and sometimes exclusively. So this is a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I briefly touched on it 2 years ago when I was talking about how I choose my colors and do my color palettes and all of that kind of stuff. This is something that is near and dear to my heart because I, for the longest time, was a person who always tried to keep up with trends and just tried to use what everybody else was using. I was trying to be one of the cool kids. I feel like we've all been there. It's just a part of growing up, I feel like, or well, for me it was a part of growing up. I always wanted to shop at like Limited Too and all of that stuff and get all of the bright colors, and that's just really not who I am. So with knitting, I have found a way to incorporate knitting into my everyday wardrobe, which is really exciting. I'm starting to knit what I want in the colors that I want, in the yarn that I want, and it's an incredibly freeing experience. Now, I will preface this with saying I'm going to be talking about some yarns. A lot of it's mine. Some of it is more commercially produced, and one of them is a special skein of yarn by one of my good friends. And this is just yarn that I love. This is from my stash or my shop, just to show you color palettes and stuff like that. But that is by no means saying that this is what people should use. Use what yarn you like, use the fiber contents you like. This is just what I like, and it's a way for me to show the colors that I'm talking about. So there's that. Today we are talking about, how did I phrase this? Creating knits that fit into my everyday wardrobe. So this is essentially what I wear every day. An oversized blue shirt, striped top, hair is either up or down, glasses, and today I'm wearing leggings, but sometimes I wear jeans, sometimes it's a dress, sometimes it's a skirt. It just kind of depends on the day. But today is a lazy day and I'm getting together with friends later, so I want to be comfy right now. So, I have been wanting to incorporate hand knits into my everyday wardrobe for a while, but like I said, I was knitting things that A, didn't fit, B, didn't fit my style, and C, were not colors that I would gravitate towards on a regular basis. So let's talk about the first problem. So things that don't fit, or things that just didn't fit in with what I wear on a normal basis. So I'm a very no fuss kind of dresser. I don't like things that take a long time to put on. I don't like things that only work in certain situations. I have kind of adopted a capsule wardrobe attitude without doing a capsule wardrobe, because I find that I can't do laundry enough, or fits of things aren't always consistent. So for me, I have like 2 pairs of jeans and a bunch of shirts, and then like a few cardigans, a few bigger oversized shirts and flannels, and that's basically my wardrobe. So everything is I like a very fitted pant because I like very loose fitting shirts. That's something that I noticed a lot in college. That's really what I gravitated towards. That's when like this became my wardrobe, this became my uniform. So when I'm looking for knitting patterns, I'm looking for the same kind of silhouettes that I grab all of the time. So those kinds of silhouettes, I like things that are very simple and very just like clean lines, very simple, not too much fuss, just a very easy thing that I can throw on and pair with jeans, leggings, over a dress or skirt. Just something very simple. I think simplicity is kind of the theme across the board. So simple silhouettes, things that are slightly oversized. I prefer my garments to have a decent amount of positive ease. The smallest amount that I prefer is about 4 inches, but I like a good 6 to 10 inches is kind of my sweet spot, unless it's ridiculously oversized where you get into like the 20 inches of positive ease where it's just a very cozy thing. And that's the kind of thing that I love, like tucking into jeans or wearing over leggings. It's very comfortable. So that also means I like boxier styles. So think the boxy sweater that's literally just a box and you just put your arms out and it's just a box. That's what I like. And then for shaping, also, sorry my chair is squeaky. I put it together. I probably did something wrong. But for shaping for the yoke, I guess, I like yoke shaping, so circular yokes. I like drop shoulders and I like raglans. So drop shoulders are when the sleeves start like down here. Raglan is just your basic, like, are either of these raglans? No. I have a raglan to show you. So a raglan is just like this shaping where you increase at 4 sides to create the front, back, and sleeves. Put that back. Okay. We'll talk about that later. And then, yeah, those are the 3 that I really like. I don't like fit. I don't like set in sleeves, and I don't like saddle shoulders. I find that they're just a little, for me, they look a little too vintage, and that's not really my personal style. So, like, I know that there are so many designers who do it very well, and they're, like, Andy Satterland, I think it's her name. She does beautiful cropped fitted sweaters with set-in sleeves or saddle sleeves, and I love that look. Like, it's similar to this, but it's just, I don't like knitting them. I knit my husband's sweater and I have to rip it out because it was a set-in sleeve and it just didn't work out, and they were a little puffy and it just wasn't what I wanted. So yeah, that's why I like a circular yoke, a drop shoulder, or raglan shaping. And I do prefer to knit top down, but I don't mind bottom up if it's going to give me that drop shoulder. That's okay. It's not my favorite, but I will knit a bottom up sweater if it's a drop shoulder. So those are the kind of patterns that I look for on a regular basis. And then the next part of that equation is picking the right color to suit the pattern and to fit into my wardrobe. So when picking the right color, I think about what's my color palette, what color pops do I like to add to my normal color palette, am I going to reach for this often, and do I actually love it, or am I just trying to fit in? So I'm going to start at the bottom and, well, I'll just start with the last question. So the am I trying to fit in was a question I started asking myself about 2 years ago. And that's when, you know, I mean, neons are still very in for a lot of people, like the super heavily speckled, beautiful yarn. And it's always so hard because I want to buy them because they're beautiful, but I know I'll never knit with them. That's why I've destashed so much of my stash. It's not what I reach for. It's not what I'm craving to have in my wardrobe. It's beautiful. I will occasionally get a skein of something really bright or out of my comfort zone, or not even comfort zone, or out of my color palette, or something that's really heavily speckled to make socks. But I haven't been knitting socks, so I just haven't been purchasing that kind of yarn. So that's something that I've really learned to step back and go, am I going to use this, or is it just something that everyone's knitting with and that I want to fit in? Like hedgehog fibers, beautiful yarn, but their colors don't really speak to me. There are a few that I really like Cereal is a really beautiful colorway, but everything else is very bright and loud, and that's just not who I am. So really stepping back and going, I love this and I can appreciate it for the work of art that it is. Sorry, my show notes over here. But I can appreciate the work of art and that other people will like it, and I can just admire it on Instagram or on Ravelry, and instead go for what I really, really love and want to knit with. Am I going to reach for this often? That's something that I ask myself all the time, because sometimes I look at a sweater specifically, I give myself room more on accessories, because sometimes I do want a nice bright red hat, or like a very bright mint shawl instead of a muted mint shawl, which there is a difference, right? There is a difference between hues of colors, not yarn. Well, yes, but I'm saying there are differences in hues of colorways. So it's really going, oh, I really want this sweater, but would I knit it more if I did it in a different, would I wear it more if I knit it in a different color? Am I going to want to wear it more than once a year? Is essentially what I'm looking for. And then what's my color palette? So that's where this comes in. So as you can see, I'm a very neutral, with some neutral colors, which is very subjective, but that's kind of my bag. So I brought some yarn goodies to show you in both my hand-dyed yarn and one of my friends' hand-dyed yarn. My battery's dying, but that's okay. I think so, at least. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to show you stress knits first. I'm the dyer behind stress knits yarn, so what I dye is what I like. So my color palette is very much, I love a good gray, and I love mints and light pinks, dirty pinks, very like dusty pinks, just more a little bit of a brighter mint, and then just like a good classic blue. And that's my color palette. That's what I like, is right here. And if I want to go a little funkier and add some speckles, I usually go for something that's in that, like this range, that would fit in easily with that. So this is my Sweet Disposition colorway. I just knit a sweater out of this, my No Frills, and I'm going to wear it all of the time. It's a little crazier than I would go for because it is very heavily speckled, but, well, I wouldn't say it's heavily speckled, but it's very obviously speckled. But it fits in with my color palette just very nicely. And then I also brought Wrapped Up in Books by Sweet Sparrow, who is one of my favorite yarn dyers and one of my good friends. And it's that same thing. I'm trying to figure out what to put this in because it's just such a special colorway. I kind of want a whole sweater in it, if I'm being honest. But again, these all fit together just very well. And this is what I like. And then you can also, I just like grays and blacks as well. So these are two of my favorite Brooklyn Tweed Shelter colorways. This is Soot, which I'm knitting a sweater in, and this is cast iron, which is a black. So this is all just, this is what I like. This is what I reach for on a regular basis. And it just makes me really happy, if I'm being honest with you. And then, so that's my color palette. Dusty pinks, really classic blues, nothing too navy, nothing too bright, very much like this color, right? Just a little more muted. Like scrummy minty greens, and also just very subtle minty greens. Yeah, and just classic pinks, black, gray, white. That's very much what I like. But then that can get a little boring. And I know this isn't true for everybody, but sometimes I like different pops of color in my wardrobe just to mix things up a little bit. So for example, I have 3 colors that I really like to reach for when I'm looking for a pop of color. It should be no surprise that I love a good, well, actually it might be a surprise, but I love a good rusty orange. This is the Fiber Company Cumbria. It's either Cumbria or Cumbria, I'm not sure. This was gifted to me by one of my lovely friends, Carolyn, of Dunderknit and Knitting Vicariously. She knows that I love a nice rusty orange. So I have a sweater quantity of this, and this is going, I'll talk about what this is going to be in a second, but I love a good rusty orange. I love a good scummy yellowish green color. This is more on the yellow side than I usually lean for, but I thought it was the best representation. But think of like army green jackets, like that's also a color that I go for a lot. So this is Yellowstone by Brooklyn Tweed in the shelter base, and this is something that I want to knit a sweater out of. I'm just not sure what yet. And then I do love a nice golden yellow, like a mustard yellow, a golden yellow, which is, this is Stress Knits, Golden Hour. And then my all-time favorite color pop is a deep tealy green blue color. And so I grabbed my Siren colorway for this, which I'm also knitting a sweater out of this soon. And so these are the pops of colors that I really like. So for me, I feel like my color palette is a very winter color palette. It's very, I don't know, I feel like it's very wintry, but for my pops of color, I like very fall, autumnal colors. I also like a really nice, like brownish red too. So these are my pops of colors along with my color palette, which will stay at the bottom of the screen. So that's how I choose color. Those are really the colors that I love and that I really don't deviate from. And I think that's, for me, it's made my life so much easier, and it's put the pressure, it's taken the pressure off of me to knit what's trendy or anything like that, because I know my color palette. I know what colors I like to pop occasionally, but I know that I'm always going to wear a dark gray sweater. I just always am. So I wanted to show you examples of the patterns that I go towards. So I either go towards an everyday pattern or a statement pattern. And I'm talking specifically for sweaters because, again, I think it's easier to experiment with accessories, so hats, shawls, socks, that kind of thing. So everyday patterns are the simple, clean, lined silhouettes. It's the just the most simplistic thing. And those are the patterns that I usually, there are exceptions to this rule, but those are what I usually use for if I want to use something a little funkier or do a pop of color. That's what I do. So this is a funkier yarn. So this is my hand-dyed yarn again. This is the Rattle colorway, but again, it's still in my color palette. This is the Madewell cardigan by Locateli, and it's just a simple, no fuss cardigan. I love it so much. I knit this on my cashmere base, so it's super soft and squishy. And again, it's just a simple cardigan. I left off the elbow patches because it's just not my style. And yeah, I'm going to reach for this again and again once I fit into it, if I ever fit into it again. But I love this, and I'm planning on making another Madewell soon. So that's an example of the everyday sweaters that I look at. But then occasionally I want to knit something that's a little more of a statement. Now, sometimes my statement sweaters will be something with cables or color work. In my mind, I haven't knit many statement sweaters, but I have a few in my queue that I really want to make, and the ones that I'm going to talk about. But sometimes a statement sweater will be something with a pop of color. This one, I decided to do both of those things, and at first I didn't like it, but now I love it, and I'm going to wear it all fall and, I almost said summer, all fall and winter long. So this is the Woolen Honey Sweater by Andrea Mowry. I knit this using Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the Hayloft colorway, and this is a size medium. Oh, the Madewell is a size large, in case you're curious. Yes, so this is very true to color. I love a good mustard yellow as a statement color as well. So there's that. But this is not something that I'd wear every day, but I would reach for it often. So it has this really cool drop stitch honeycomb pattern that's a lot of fun to knit, and it's reverse stockinette, which is different than a lot of my pieces. And I think it's just fun. The silhouette is incredibly simple, it's cropped and beautiful, but the honeycomb is just, it's not something I would wear every day. But I still love it, and I think it's a beautiful statement sweater. So, let's talk about the patterns that are catching my eye and colorways that I would like to knit them in. Yeah, so some of it will be my yarn, a lot of it will be my yarn because it's what I have the most access to, and it's also just the most effective for me, because if I knit something in my yarn, it shows people what that looks like, and I also just love it because it's the yarn that I make. So there's that, but there are some things that I know that I want to use other yarns for. And I'm going to try for the first time to add pictures somewhere on the screen to the patterns that I'm talking about, and I will also have links below in the description so that you can check them out and add them to your queue if you would like. So first things first, the Manet sweater and Manet sweater light by Jonna Hietala. Don't know if that's right, but that is one of the sweaters I'm going to be casting on very, very soon. The first one is an Aran weight sweater, and the second one is a fingering weight sweater. It's the same pattern. I think one of the Aran weight is reverse stockinette, and the fingering weight one is just regular stockinette. The storm is coming. We're supposed to get really bad storms, and I love storms, so I'm excited. I like bad thunderstorms. I don't like extreme weather, but I like a thunderstorm. So anyway, I didn't bring the yarn that I'm going to knit. Actually, let me just grab it really quick. It's right here. Okay, so for the Manet sweater, I'm going to be using an Aran weight that I'm testing out for the shop in my grubby colorway. So it's just a really pretty pink, and it has some dark gray speckles. And so this is going to be my Manet sweater, the original. And then for my Manet light, I'm deciding to use one of my pops that I've wanted to use for a long time, and I'm going to use the Siren colorway. And I can already tell that I'm going to love this, and I actually think I'm going to be casting this on the soonest. This might be my Rhinebeck knitting, so we'll see. That is what I'm going for there. The Woodfords by Elizabeth Dhorty. It's this beautiful, I don't even know, it's an open front cardigan. It's beautiful. I think she designed it for Brooklyn Tweed, and I would love to use Brooklyn Tweed for this. If I think to add it, I will also add a picture of the colorway that I'm thinking of using. I really think wood smoke would be ideal, but there might be a few more that I'll pop on as I'm talking about this. So Woodfords is just a beautiful open front long line cardigan, and I have been obsessed with it for a long time. I love it. It's so classic, and it's something I'm going to wear all of the time. Next is the Autumn League Pullover by Alexandra Tavel? Not sure. Again, if I mess up names, I'm so sorry. I'm just not good at it. So I saw this for the first time on the Grocery Girls. Joji knit one. She knit a short sleeve version. It's a DK weight sweater, which I love DK weight sweaters, and I think I might just use my etching colorway, which is my dark gray, or honestly anything. It's not super high on my list to knit, but I love it, and it's a beautiful, simple, everyday sweater. Next is the Rosemont by Hannah Fettig. I've been wanting to knit this sweater since it came out. I have the book over here somewhere, and I'm going to be using my Fiber Company Cumbria. It's gonna be great. My husband's texting me. I'm sorry, I got really distracted. Yeah, so that's what that's going to be. It's just a beautiful, again, a simple cardigan with its open front, which I prefer. I don't love buttons on cardigans, and it has a beautiful shawl collar. Next is The Weekender by Andrea Mowry. I have knit two. Neither have worked out yet, but that is my fault, no fault of the pattern. It is a beautiful bottom-up boxy pullover with a drop shoulder. It's perfect. I think Andrea Mowry refers to it as her fancy sweatshirt, and I just love that. So I'm going to be knitting a third one soon, and hopefully that one fits. Next is the Ronan by Andrea Mowry, which I am knitting currently out of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in the Soot colorway. I just have sleeves and a collar left to go, but again, it's simple, open front, drop shoulder, long cardigan with pockets and a giant brioche shawl collar, and I cannot wait to have it because I'm going to wear it every day. And last but certainly not least is the Boxy by Locateli. The Boxy is just so versatile, and I feel like it looks good on everybody. I also feel like it gives you room if your gauge is slightly off, because there is something like 20 inches of positive ease in all of the sizes. So that's amazing, and the Boxy comes in a bunch of different iterations. So there's the normal Boxy, which I'm currently knitting out of palm lines on my Tweedy base. So it's fingering weight. There's a DK weight Boxy, there's a V-neck Boxy. I think the DK weight V-neck Boxy is called, what's it called? But it came out in interpretations. The newest one, which is 5? I'm not sure. There's a worsted weight Boxy, a kid's Boxy. There are just a lot of Boxies, and it's just a beautiful pattern, and I love Hohi's designs. They are wonderful and size inclusive, and I'm really excited to have that done. It's a lot of knitting, it's a huge commitment, but it is something that I'm going to wear almost every day. Now, statement sweaters. I'm only going to talk about 4 because these are the 4 that have been on my mind either for a while, or because 2 of them only one of them's been out for a while, and 3 of them have come out recently, I believe. I know for sure 2 did. I'm not sure about 1. But these are all, I just love them. I love them so much. So, Folksy by Melody Hoffman. It is a large, oversized sweater. It's a little cropped. I think I would knit it a little longer than the pattern calls for, and it uses 3 colors, I believe. So I'm not a big color work fan when it comes to having it in my wardrobe. There are a few exceptions to that rule. Like, I love my Nordiska, and I will wear that pretty often. Just by Caitlin Hunter. That's really the only color work sweater that I've worn. I made a Tecumseh as well, but I don't know how I feel about it yet. So the Folksy sweater, oh, I also just made my stone crop pullover, which I also love. And those are all statement sweaters for me because it's just not something I would wear every day. But Folksy, to me, is like the perfect, I don't ski and I've never been skiing, but it feels like a very ski lodge style sweater. It's beautiful, the chevrons and the baubles, and I love it. I really want to make it out of Brooklyn tweed. I'm thinking about using Postcard, which is a grayish pink hayloft, and then I don't know about the 3rd color, but I think it would be beautiful, and I just really, really love that sweater. Next is the Soiree sweater by Emily Foden. I fell in love with this sweater when I saw it on 3 podcasts. So I saw it for the first time, Amy Florence of the Stranded Dye Works podcast, and then Katie of Inside Number 23, and I think she finished it recently, and I saw it on her Instagram, and then Laura of the Fawn Knits podcast, and the Fawn and the Fox, who I also love. I love all 3 of these women. And they made the Soiree sweater. It's this beautiful cropped sweater with seed stitch panels with cables up the sides, and I feel like it'd be a beautiful piece. And it uses a fingering weight held with a mohair, which for me automatically makes it a statement piece because I'm not really someone who goes for the fuzz, but there are a few sweaters that I definitely want to make with that, and the Soiree is one of them. The other sweater I want to make with fuzz is the Daydreamer by Andrea Mowry. She came out with this recently, and I still regret not applying for the test call that she made before everything came out, before the sweater came out. And it's just beautiful. There are baubles, there are cables, there's seed stitch, and I believe it's seed stitch. But it's beautiful, and I love it, and I think I would wear it a decent amount. I'd wear it more with dresses and skirts. I just think it's beautiful. And the last statement sweater that I've been really eyeing, I'm just not sure of the colors that I want to use, is the Golden Horizon sweater by Tina C. Sorry Tina, I don't know if that's how you say it. I'm pretty sure. And there's thunder. Okay, so it is this absolutely gorgeous sweater. I'm pretty sure you use DK for the mane, and then for the slip stitch detail that creates the stripes, you use a fingering weight. And I just think it's genius and beautiful, and I love Tina, and I got to meet her at the Detroit Knit in Public event, and I've just been eyeing this sweater since it's been in testing and even since she's been designing it. So that's something that I really, really want to knit soon. Yeah, I really love it. And that's it for right now. I hope this was helpful or informative in any way, and how I pick my patterns, pick my yarns, and how I'm just trying to incorporate more knitwear into my everyday wardrobe. So thank you again to all of you for watching. Thank you patrons for supporting me and my creative endeavors, and I will see you next time. Bye!